Good afternoon. Today is February 5th, 2025. Actually, 2525, interesting. And we've got Andrew Sorchini back with us, and we're going to talk about the financial markets today because a lot's happening. If you go back and listen to our prior interviews, what do we say? Gold was on some lows in early part of January. It was going to make its way vertical. It has with silver. Just doing a recap here. And then starting in February is where the excitement is going to begin. Okay, so I'm telling you, the charts are pointing to massive excitement in the financial markets, particularly precious metals, beginning February into March. So we had a very short window, we said last podcast. We have a short window of time into February before the fireworks begin here later in February and into March for the precious metals. So silver has not yet broken vertical to new all-time highs, and I want to talk to Andrew about that. And then gold, again, keeps making new all-time highs. Right before the podcast, Andrew and I did a comparison. We looked at gold and we looked at silver. Silver, since January 1, is up roughly $3, and that's roughly 9% on the year. And that's 1 month. And gold's up near about $250 since the start of the year, since January 1. And so it's up about $250, which is roughly 8%. So silver is outperforming gold by just a fraction right now. So all of that said, wanted to have Andrew back and have Andrew's input on what he sees happening in the financial markets. So from a cycles perspective, everything's on target, okay? February brings the excitement into March, okay? So that hasn't changed. Everything looks great. And so with that said, Andrew, what have you seen, say, in the past 4 weeks, particularly the past few days here with precious metals? And again, Andrew, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me back, Bo. It's a lot happening. We saw gold hit a new all-time high today, briefly, and it's done so 3 or 4 different days in the last week or so. So it's pulling silver up with it, and silver seems to be above that $32 an ounce range that we always talk about. That's the support level that you pointed out many podcasts ago. And I'm starting to see some of the what we call the smart money, the larger accounts, start to pick up on more gold and silver finally. It seems like after the first of the year, there was a lot of people that were showing interest in cryptocurrency, and the volatility that we've seen in the last couple of weeks, I think, have shaken a lot of them out. And now they're going back to the safe haven, which is gold and silver. And just another thing, these tariffs, or the threat of tariffs, have really let people know that the idea that we could go into hyperinflation is very, very real. And I think that that's why we're seeing gold and silver really start to move.
Andrew, interesting. You bring up the word tariffs, and something really interesting happened this past weekend. Those who are watching the dollar, the Canadian dollar, the Mexican peso, what happened? It's very interesting on the charts. You saw the US dollar spike vertical very powerfully. At the same time, the Canadian dollar plunged and the Mexican peso plunged down, meaning it dropped sizably. What happened on the charts, and what I do is I study history. And when you study history, there's a huge probability, and this is, understanding what cycles are. If you understand cycles, the cycle that formed was very fascinating. We've got Trump writing that book years ago called The Art of the Deal, right? So what did he do? He put a 25% tariff, or, it was going to happen, 25% tariff for Canada and Mexico. And boom, the same day they crumbled. And next thing you know, Canada and Mexico agreed they brought more security to the border because it wasn't a financial war. It was a drug war, is specifically why Trump brought the tariffs in. Something very interesting happened on the charts, and this is what the Lord revealed to me. And this is directly related to gold and silver. So now, Andrew, if the dollar is going up, probably 90% of the time, gold's going down. And same as silver. Now, on the other side of it, if gold and silver are going up vertically, pretty much in all bull markets, the dollar's going down. They're opposite. They're contrarian because basically, if you're buying the dollar, you don't need precious metals. And so what I want people to understand is something fascinating happened this weekend into Monday. the 3rd of February. The US dollar formed what's called a right shoulder. So if you understand chart patterns, it's called a trip. It's called a triple. So it makes a left shoulder, a head, which is higher, and then a right shoulder. So it goes up, down, higher, down, and then back to about the same level the other shoulder was. And that puts in a final top. The US dollar put in a final top on the tariffs. And so now what's happening is the US dollar is in a death spiral, but no one sees it yet. So the US dollar is in a downward spiral. And if you go back and study history, Saddam Hussein, Gaddafi, anytime there was an attack on the US dollar, next thing you know, look what happened to Saddam Hussein. Look what happened to Gaddafi. Okay. And so why? Because the globalists use the US dollar, the Federal Reserve note, to control everything. And that's what we're seeing. Like we've seen this US aid. It's been a slush fund to buy and pay off everybody globally.
Right.
That's what they've been doing with it. They've had it's a billion, multi-bajillion dollar slush fund to buy and pay off everybody. And that's what they've been doing. And then Elon Musk exposed it, and now the Democrats are freaking, right? But what was the point of it? See, what do they do with the money? What does money do? It buys and pays off everybody. Okay. So now that instrument that was buying and paying off everybody is officially begun a death spiral. So I want to show you this chart, and this is what the Lord revealed to me, and this will play out exactly as I'm showing you here. So you've got the art of the deal. Trump basically, this last shoulder right here, what he did was this past week, was weekend into Monday, he put the 25% tariffs. You saw the US dollar spike vertical, and by the end of the day, Canada and Mexico caved. And so the dollar turned down and the Canadian dollar went up instead. Now, in history, what happens is when the Canadian dollar rises, so does gold and silver. This is a fact. So what we're seeing right now is the Canadian dollar begin to rise. It just started. And so is gold and silver. But we've seen gold and silver rising since the start of the year. So what's set up right now is a drop in the US dollar for months. For months. That's what the chart is saying. So back to Andrew, my question to you is, if the US dollar is going to fall for months forward, what would that do to gold and silver?
Gold and silver would go vertical without any doubt. We would probably see a continual record prices for gold, and then hopefully silver can start to push its all-time high.
My question again back to you with regards to gold and silver. Have you ever seen, because I know you've been in the gold silver space for a long time, have you ever seen gold make new all-time highs, get into a bull market, make new all-time highs, but silver didn't? Like, has there ever been a history in bull markets and precious metal bull markets where silver is not making new all-time highs and running vertical with gold?
They always move together, but at this point, the difference between gold and silver is greater than it should be. Usually silver will run a lot more than it has been. So I feel like it's simmering right now. It's getting ready to take off.
So we've watched gold for the past good chunk of last year and now this year making new all-time highs. When I say all-time highs, it means that the last high on the bull market for gold in 2011 was $2,050. This is in 2011. So now for the past year and a half, roughly, gold continues to make new all-time highs. So think about this. For a year and a half, and somewhere in that window, I've got to go back and check, but I know it's at least a year, maybe a year and a half, gold's making new all-time highs, right?
Yep.
Has silver been making new all-time highs for the past year, year and a half?
It hasn't.
So what's wrong with the picture? For all of those wondering, is gold topping out now, which is making new all-time highs? What's happening with the gold/bull market for precious metals? History tells us something very simple, that whenever gold gets in a bull market, go study the charts, that's what I do, silver follows, and then it starts to explode. We've got something fascinating going on here. For the year and a half, they're not letting silver explode. Think about that. So silver has not made a new all-time high. So in the 70s, silver topped out at $49. In 2011, silver topped out at about $49. Silver has been trading, we've been saying consistently, under $30 most of last year. Finally broke through $30, went up to $33, $34. We said that was a roof, and it's been bouncing around between 32 to 30 for quite a long time now. We're back to the 32 range. So they're holding it under this $35 mark. My point is, new all-time highs are $49 and above. But we're not at $49 and above, but yet gold is. So again, if we study history, history tells us every single time the precious metals are in a bull market, silver is the last one to go. But when it goes harder, more powerfully vertical, but it goes with gold. So that said again, Andrew, is gold's on all-time highs. Why silver not on all-time highs? And because of history, would you say silver is going to make new all-time highs because gold is?
Well, silver is heavily manipulated by the banks because if the silver is allowed to go vertical and reach all-time highs and reach its true value, which should be well over $100 an ounce, silver is the bank killer. It's when silver does what we know it should be doing and what it will eventually do, that's when we're going to really see the banks go down. So it's being held in place, but they can't do it forever because we just need a few billionaires out there to start tweeting that they're buying massive amounts of physical silver, not paper silver, and that'd be the end of it for the people that are suppressing, or the big banks that are suppressing the silver price. So really, with gold being where it's at now, silver should be at like $75 an ounce. And I base that on where it was in 2011. Gold was $1,900 an ounce and silver was at 49. So how is gold at almost 2,900 and silver's still sitting at 32.50?
That's my point. Mm-hmm. Everybody go back and listen to what Andrew just said. It doesn't make sense. There's something wrong with this picture. There's something wrong with the picture. So those that have bought gold and like, hey, gold's an all-time highs, I'm going to liquidate some of my gold because, it's at all-time highs. It's like we talked about last time with cryptocurrencies, right? The only thing that makes sense to me, which is what I personally have done, is you liquidate cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, right? To buy what? Silver. Same thing with gold on new all-time highs, to cash out on gold because you think it's topping out. People, the bull market hasn't started yet. That's the crazy part. We haven't seen the bull market in precious metals yet. But a great opportunity is because of these sizable higher price, not sizable, but higher prices right now in gold, to convert that to silver. Think about it. You can right now get probably easily, I think, 80 ounces 80 ounces for 1 ounce of gold, which is insane because the in-ground ratio is roughly 10-1. So right now, swapping 1 ounce of gold as just an example, not giving a financial advice, but as an example, if you swapped 1 ounce of gold to get 80 ounces of silver is insane. You're getting 8 times more silver than you should be getting right now because of the ratio. In other words, because of the price manipulation. But when gold and silver go vertical and they start to explode, the prophecy is very straightforward. Gold goes off the charts, meaning it just blows through the charts vertical, and silver becomes an item of economic security. Why? Because Andrew actually earlier today sent me a text, and there's a couple articles right now. And what are the articles? They're specifically stating that the bullion banks are having difficulties allocating and locating what? Gold. Talk about that for a little bit, Andrew.
Physical gold and paper gold trade on the same market. And they should not, because it's like if I was in the iPhone selling business, you can't sell more iPhones than you have or can get. And somehow the big banks are able to do that. They're able to trade on paper, gold and silver on the financial markets. Well, right now, the demand for the big banks to purchase gold is so high that they're having to scrounge up enough gold at COMEX to back those contracts, and they're having a hard time doing so. So as long as it's difficult for that to happen, we're going to see gold go up quite a bit. In fact, gold's up about $125 in the last week because of this.
That's what we need to understand about paper versus real stuff. Okay. If you click a couple buttons or you call your broker up and say, I'd like to buy X amount of gold, when they buy you GLD, they're buying you a paper contract. And this is the problem. You don't ever take delivery of a paper contract. And so you think you might own it. But like Andrew was saying, a cell phone is a cell phone. If there's one cell phone to buy, there's only one cell phone to buy. They take 500 IOUs and they sell those IOUs to 500 people who all 500 think they own that one cell phone. That's what's going on. And so right now, there's bullion banks and there's individuals out there saying, hey, I want to take delivery. Now, this is a very big problem because they're cashing in on their IOUs. That's what they're doing. They're cashing in on those IOUs, but the problem is there's not enough gold to back those IOUs. And soon enough, we're about to find out Caesar's got no clothes because, again, you got Doge out there right now, okay? You've got Elon Musk, you've got Trump. They're going in gangbusters, okay? What does the Bible say about truth? Truth will set us free. People, just go turn on the news right now. Go watch what's going on. Truths are coming out. They're truth bombs that are freaking people out. And then one of the truth bombs that's going to hit here shortly is all the price manipulations of precious metals. And specifically because when the truth comes out that these IOUs is all they were paper IOUs. Andrew, what would happen to the gold price? And then top that off, what would happen to silver?
They would hit not only all-time highs, they would just skyrocket to levels that we've only dreamt about. I mean, could potentially see gold at $5, 10, $15,000 an ounce, and silver at 250 to 500 an ounce. Like, that's how big it's been manipulated all this time. It really is. And people should understand why the banks do it. And we've referenced that the banks that silver going vertical would mean that the banks are starting to fail. Okay. And they can't allow that. So what they do is they're gathering up physical silver. And at the same time, they're hedging those investments by shorting paper silver. I mean, at first, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but to compare it, like the Super Bowl, it's like if you bet on the Chiefs to win for $100 and then you bet on the Eagles to win. Well, one of them's going to win and one's going to lose. So you're sitting at zero. That's exactly what the banks want to happen with silver. They want it to not move from where it's at. So they're long physical silver and they're short paper silver just to ensure that they have silver as insurance for what the business that they do. And we just don't think that they could do that any longer. There could be a short squeeze like we saw a few years ago when Wall Street Bets did the short squeeze and cost the hedge funds billions of dollars when they made the price of GameStop and AMC go up. It's possible, and it doesn't really take a very big group of people to do it.
Here's the deal. The dollar, the Federal Reserve note, and we joke about this, but federal, it's not federal. Reserves, there aren't any. Note means it's paper. It's an IOU. Okay. The Federal Reserve note is in a down cycle. I'm telling you, it's in a down cycle for months now. Gold's making new all-time highs, and it's just warming up to what's about to happen. We've said in our prior podcasts, you have a very short window of time. As we head into February, we're going to watch gold start accelerating. And then there's going to be a massive explosion coupling that with silver. This is coming February into March. You can't stop what's coming, but you can prepare for it. Gold and silver are about to embark on a journey that we've never seen before. It's coming. The dollar is heading downwards. The Federal Reserve note's heading down. And why? Because God has stated for several prophets about the dollar that it's going to crash. Why? Because they've used the money system. Not my opinion. You can log into any YouTube, a lot of YouTube channels right now. They're speaking the truth, some even on mainstream media, but they're talking about specifically the U.S. aid. That's just one example. multi-billion-dollar slush fund to buy and pay off other countries and people.
Alan Levitt at the White House detailing exactly what USAID was doing. Let's just say it's not giving little loaves of bread to starving children.
Live coverage.
Through USAID over the past several years, these are some of the insane priorities that organization has been spending money on. $1.5 million to advance DEI in Serbia's workplaces, $70,000 for a production of a DEI musical in Ireland, $47,000 for a transgender opera in Colombia, $32,000 for a transgender comic book in Peru. I don't know about you, but as an American taxpayer, I don't want my dollars going towards this crap, and I know the American people don't either, and that's exactly what Elon Musk has been tasked by President Trump to do, to get the fraud, waste, and abuse out of our federal government.
What's going on there?
Well, it's been run by a bunch of radical lunatics, and we're getting them out. USAID, run by radical lunatics, and we're getting them out, and then we'll make a decision.
That's what it's been used for. And so when the dollar starts to plunge, people are not going to want it. And they're going to want the one asset class that has been money for 5,000 years. Andrew and I have talked about this so regularly because Andrew's done a really great job in researching this. It's on his website. I know he's even got a page on it, but it's specifically about financial systems globally that go back hundreds and hundreds of years. Every single instrument, and Andrew's got on his page, that it's ever been created since the start of finances, every single money instrument's gone to zero. Period. Like, for example, the Roman Empire, right? The empire's gone. People still have their money, their coinage, because that's got gold in it. So the gold in it gives it value. There's a stamp on that gives it value. But Rome's gone. And so these empires that come and go, their financial systems go. And the US dollar, just because your parents used it, doesn't mean it's going to last forever, because history says you're wrong. History says every money instrument's gone to zero. So if you think you're sitting all happy, cozy because you've got some financial instruments in the bank, what you got is digits. With a click of a button, your digits could be gone. When on a bank run, there's a thing called the Frank-Dodd Act. Maybe you can expand upon that. But with the Frank-Dodd Act, Andrew, is it your money? Or once you deposit money into the bank based on the Frank-Dodd Act, is it yours? Or did you just make a deposit into the bank and you became an unsecured creditor?
When that act passed in I believe it was 2008 when Obama was president, we changed from depositors. When you put money in the bank, you deposit it. Legally, in legal terms, you were considered a depositor. And now that's changed to being a creditor. And you can look it up. You can Google Dodd-Frank Act, and you could say, am I a creditor or am I a depositor? And if you're familiar with that legal jargon, that's what you see in bankruptcies. You'll have a list of creditors so that if there's a failure or a bankruptcy, you can figure out who's going to get pennies on the dollar based on how much they had invested with whatever firm went bankrupt. So that's a troubling term if you really study it.
Creditor means you're the last guy getting paid. Dramatic difference between the two words. And they did it intentionally. Why? Because they want you broke. Okay. God wants you have abundance. The best phrase, there's many great phrases in the Bible, but the one that gives a very good illustration or excellent illustration is John 10:10. Christ comes to give you life more abundantly, but evil comes to kill, steal, and destroy. For years, we've seen it, but for the past 4 years, all we've seen is kill, steal, destroy. And we're coming into a moment in time which is going to be biblical. We're going to have an intervention here very soon. God's going to do something, and then that's going to step us into life more abundantly. Those who prepared financially are going to be blessed beyond measure. The greatest wealth transfer in human history is coming. Those who prepared financially by holding God's money, which is written in Haggai 2, verse 8, the silver and the gold are mine, say the Lord, will be blessed financially. Again, many people who listen to the podcast do not have finance to buy gold and silver. Why? Because Caesar, the present day pharaohs, they create everything to basically steal your money from you. Look at the example, what they've done with your IRS, which we just found out, okay? They basically take the income that they receive from the IRS and they stick it in the slush fund in the USAID slush fund and then fork it out to all the globalists and push it out around the world. Like, and this is just a piece of what we found out so far. So the money in the Bible, it's very clear, their love of money has been the root of all evil, and they've controlled us with it. And so a biblical event's coming. We're not far away. We've said watch February. We're now in February. Today's the 5th. I'm going to try to get this video out shortly because I'm telling you, there's such little time for events to go down here. Silver's rising. When it takes out $34, $35, I'm telling you, next thing we're going to see here very soon is $60 to $70. And then shortly after that, we're going to see numbers like Andrew was referencing, $200, $300, $400, $500 silver. I know it sounds crazy, but the banks are going to lose control. Why? Because Trump's in office. And he called it the golden age. People don't understand what that means. It means an honest system of money. It means honest ledger, not creating money in the back rooms, clicking buttons, making as much money as you want. Because isn't that how the Federal Reserve System works? Like, do we really know how much money ever has been created? Andrew, do we?
We don't. There's no way to audit it. They have numbers that they put out, but we don't have a way to audit those numbers.
That's the point of what Andrew just said. We don't know how much money's been created, but we do know that if you want to protect your finances, there is an asset that's been created by God thousands of years ago. It's called gold and silver. So, because that's all you've got is digits, which you technically don't even own because of the Frank Dodd Act. You're not even a depositor. You're nothing but a creditor. So if someone wanted to reach out to you or any other broker, how do they get gold and silver? And then also, if you can expand upon the availability, what can they get right now and what's available that in your inventory, and the price is still good.
Yeah, so right now you could get just about any gold or silver item out there for pretty close to what the spot price is. Like it's the premiums are very, very, very low because of how much metals have gone up over the last 13 months or so. So it's a great opportunity to get involved. And we talk about this a lot, but I'm surprised there are people that don't realize. But you can roll over your 401ks, IRAs, beneficiary IRAs, government and state retirement accounts. You can roll those over into a precious metals IRA without it being a taxable event. So you can literally do all or part of it, and it'll hold real physical gold and silver that's stored at a depository in a lockbox with your name on it. And it's so many people have taken advantage of this over the years. And both since we've been working together here, I've seen gold go from like $1,700 an ounce to almost $2,900 an ounce earlier this morning. Like literally, it wasn't too far away from there. And gold has done so well. We've seen silver go from about $20 or $21 an ounce to $32.50 an ounce. And that's done better than a lot of the other things out there. And gold and silver are a great hedge against inflation. So you hear a lot of people talk about right now that eggs are so expensive right now. I've seen recently where they cost almost $1 an egg here in California. So unless you're making more money at your job, you're losing value because the dollar's buying power is not what it was last year. And every year the buying power is going down more. If you invest in gold and silver, the gains that you make on your silver offset what you lose in buying power in the dollar. And that's what the banks use it for. It's a hedge. That's what I use it for. And it really is a great way to invest. So people should reach out to us via our website and say that Bo Polny sent you. And we would be happy to explain to you how to do a cash transaction or how to roll over a 401k or an IRA to have physical gold and silver.
Andrew and I have done podcasts together for quite a long time. We've seen gold move from $1,700, like Andrew's saying. We've seen silver from $17. Silver right now from 17, gold at 1,700. All of this, everything's been going up in precious metals, but yet the bull market, what we're talking about, hasn't even started yet. This is the crazy part. The bull market that I am waiting for has not started yet. And I do believe we are very close to this event manifesting. February is going to be very interesting here. And then as we head into specifically March, fasten your seatbelt. So again, we are very, very close to something exploding here in precious metals. The dollar's in a down cycle. It's heading down. The Federal Reserve notes, it's heading down. The world's going to be moving away from the Federal Reserve note very soon here. It's coming. Prepare yourself for what's about to start here in March. Things are going to be very, very exciting, especially if you're in the precious metals sector. So again, I hope people have listened. I hope people have precious metals because you cannot stop what's about to happen. Trump is now in office. He's going to change things so dramatically in the world, people don't even know what's coming yet. So we're very, very close to massive shifting in our financial world. And we're just seeing the taste of it. And Trump's only in office. He's only been in office for 2 weeks. And look at what's already going on. Incredible changes are about to happen. And again, the number one way to prepare for this is owning gold and silver, because when the financial scales flip, a new financial system will be birthed. Andrew, myself, and Pastor Dave have spoken about this. Pastor Dave has heard through many people that he speaks with, directly tied in with Trump and his administration, a new financial system's coming. It's going to be backed by gold and silver. It's coming. You can't stop this, but you can prepare for it. So again, Andrew, how can people find you? And is there anything else that you wanted to add? Actually, also, I'll pop up your website here to make it easier for people if they want to look at getting some precious metals and how to reach you. I'll put the screen up here. Here we go.
So you just go to the website there, and most of the pages on the website have that form there where you can put in your name, email address, phone number, and how you heard about us. In the notes section, if you would, be as detailed as you can. So what I see, I look at every single web submission, and what I see more often than not are people wanting to know if their IRA or 401k are eligible to hold physical gold and silver without it being a taxable event. That's a great thing to put in there. If you've been stacking gold and silver for years and really just want to give us a shot or find out about our pricing, then put that in there. And that helps me get you to the right part of our company and how we can help you the best. So be as detailed as you can. The response time is usually 24 hours at the most, and we're shipping very quick. So for transactions that we're doing today, if people end up sending us a wire to transfer to pay for it, we're typically shipping 1 to 2 days later. And we're accepting Bitcoin payments now. Or you have mentioned many times that since Bitcoin's hit 100,000, that this isn't really a time to be adding Bitcoin to your portfolio. It's a time to take a little bit of profit. And we've had people actually send us Bitcoin to pay for silver. They've bought things like 90% silver, silver eagles, everything. So we welcome those, but Bitcoin only for right now.
If you think about Bitcoin, it's gone up sizably in the past few months, in the past year. And just in November, when we called the bottom on Bitcoin, when I was buying, again, this is interesting because at that time point, I was buying quite a bit of silver from Andrew at $17. And that's when Bitcoin dropped down to 15,000. Think about that, okay? Bitcoin dropped down to 15,000. Silver dropped down to $17. Silver at $17 to where it is now, roughly double. But look at Bitcoin from 15,000 bottom when we called that. And then now it's at 100,000, okay? So understand right now on one Bitcoin, how much silver you could actually buy at like $35, Rob. You know, it's incredible the opportunity that is available to people who are paying attention. So again, with the last asset, and we've said this before, say it again, this is a horse race. The last horse out of the gates is silver, and it moves the fastest and the hardest, and it gets to the finish line first and wins. When this thing goes, when silver goes, you're going to start seeing silver make new all-time highs. It's going to go dollars per day. It's going to be wild to watch. I've said in our prior podcast, watch as we head into February. We're into February. It's going to start to accelerate, and then wait till you see what happens in March. So we are at a critical moment. I hope people have paid attention. Again, not everybody can afford to buy gold. Silver is very reasonable. Still, even at the $30 range, $35 range, it's very reasonable to buy it. Things are coming very soon. Trump's in office. Exposure's coming. Truths revealed are going to change everything. And I hope people have listened and prepared. Andrew, any closing thoughts? And again, thank you so much for being here.
It's my pleasure as usual. And I just want to point out to people that although we talk about gold hitting new highs and that silver has a lot of room to run and how well silver has done in the last few years, it's not too late to get in. We believe that that gold and silver are going considerably higher. So I wouldn't get too caught up wondering, should I buy now? Should I invest in gold now? You're investing with the idea of where you know it's headed. And that's what you should keep in mind. So it's not too late.
It's headed up for a long time. And people say, when do I know to sell silver and gold? You understand this is so important to think about. Trump is bringing in the golden age, and with it, a new financial system backed by gold and silver. You don't need to sell it because it's going to be the new money. That's the simplest way to describe it. But that new money is going to be worth incredible amounts of value, and you'll be able to get incredible things with it because of the value it's going to hold. So it will be the number one asset class. And this is the cool part. Trump, not only does he bring in a new financial system, it's going to back gold and silver will back the new U.S. money, which means something pretty incredible, that the U.S. money system will be the strongest financial instrument in the world. I'm going to repeat that. The U.S. money system in the not too distant future here will end up being, and this is not the Federal Reserve System, the new coming monetary system out of the U.S. with Trump president will be the strongest monetary system in the world because it will be backed by our military with Trump in charge, and gold and silver is going to be the real deal. So again, I hope people listened. Andrew, thank you so much for being here, and God bless everybody. Be well.
Beverly Hills Precious Metals Exchange is a client-focused firm devoted to assisting our clients with precious metals. Our clients range from first-time to serious coin collectors and investors seeking to add precious metals to their investment portfolios. We are not interested in volatile investments, leveraged products, and intangible assets. With rising inflation and the devaluing of the dollar hurting middle-class families, investing in gold and silver ensures protection for your hard-earned money. Save the value of your money today by investing in gold and silver at Beverly Hills Precious Metals.